Nobody's gonna take us serious when we say somebody 2 feet tall is trying to kill us. They're gonna be like, okay, step over her. What's up, Team Jazzy? It's your girl, Jazzy J, and I am back with another mukbang. So today's true crime is about a orphan. Have y'all seen the movie Orphan? You had to have seen this. It was a while back ago, but the movie is about a couple who adopted an orphan, and she tried to kill the wife. She tried to hurt the children because she was in love with the husband, and she ended up being a grown woman who just looked like a kid. That is what we're going to be talking about today, but it happened in real life. There was an orphan called Natalia, and she was supposed to be 8 years old when the Barnetts adopted her. But when she had pubic hairs and when she started pouring coffee in their bleach, the Barnetts had to act fast and do the unthinkable. Give this video a big thumbs up on the simple fact that today we will be eating on some black bean noodles, jajangmyeon. One day I'm gonna get it. It's a Korean dish. It's like my third time having this. I always fry an egg with it, but it's spicy seafood in here. So it's called spicy seafood black bean noodles, or jajangmyeon noodles. Don't kill me, I'm saying it wrong. But I have some prawns. I cut up some prawns. Normally they use pork belly, but I use prawns this time. And I fried an egg. What else did I do different? Yeah, that's it. So I call all of my subscribers Team Jazzy. So if you would like to be a part of the team, all you have to do is subscribe to this channel and turn your post notifications on so that you never miss another video. I'm gonna pray so I can eat. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this food that I'm about to receive. I ask that it may be nourished to my body. I ask that you bless the hands that prepared it and bless my entire Team Jazzy. Amen. Okay, I'm so hungry. But yeah, so I have red pepper flakes in here. I'm not even gonna tell you what I have in here because y'all already know what I'm gonna say. I looked out for whoever wants the recipe to this and made a shorts. So just go to my shorts playlist and find the spicy seafood jajangmyeon noodles. I like it better. With the prawns instead of the pork belly. I think the main reason they use the pork belly is one, for texture, and then secondly because it like holds a lot of fat and stuff. No, this is good. Y'all, I got the trainer chopsticks and still can't do it. All right, y'all. I got a fork because I ain't got time to fight with my food now. I'm hungry now. But how are you guys doing today? What are we eating for dinner? Yum. I got me a fork. My favorite is when I eat it with the egg. It's so good with egg. Yummy. That's what it looks like, guys. It is spicy. I probably could have added more pepper flakes though, but I can definitely taste the spice. So, Natalia. We're gonna start off talking about her family as soon as I get a straw. So the Barnetts, party of 5, they had 3 boys. Well, one of their boys, Jake, when he was a baby, they noticed when he was 2 years old, he started to regress. He stopped talking. He wouldn't look at you when you were talking. They took him to the doctor and they found out he had autism. And so that was something that they dealt with. And then they noticed that, you know, he would click out of their world. And to bring him back, you had to do things that make him happy. Excuse me. So they're trying to figure out what makes him happy. They found out that learning made him happy. And he became obsessed with learning because his parents, you know, they created that dopamine. They saw what made him happy and they kept it going. Well, they realized the autism was starting to slowly fade away. And so the traits of it. So they kept it going. They kept it going. And this boy was so smart, mainly at math, that by the time he was in the 5th grade, he learned the whole high school math curriculum in only 2 weeks. When he was in 5th grade, he ain't even made it to middle school yet. By the time he was 8 years old, he was already enrolled in college because he had a scholarship to college by the age of 8. Like, he ended up being like a baby genius. So, how do things go left from there? You know? Seems like this family has been through enough and they made it. They made it out of what they thought was a hindrance. This is so good. So the mom became a motivational speaker. She also wrote a book called The Spark. And she talks about parenting, mothering her autistic son. And, you know, he's famous for being a genius. And so she capitalized off of that and wrote a book. And y'all know I'm a reader. I would have definitely bought a book like that, you know, because I'm into parenting the right way. And it's just a story in itself. Like, you just want to know more. So, they wanted a baby girl. But they already had 3 boys. They're getting older. They're like, we want to adopt. And they were supposed to adopt a little girl from Haiti. But something happened with, there was like an earthquake or something that ended up messing up their adoption plan. And they didn't end up getting the girl. So a couple months later, they ended up getting a phone call from a adoption agency, and they were like, you know, we did our research on you, and we think that you are the perfect fit for this orphan from Ukraine, and she is 8 years old, and she has a case of dwarfism, and here goes her birth certificate. We're going to email you everything. So they emailed a birth certificate, 2 pictures of the little girl. They put papers in there stating that she's going to need surgeries for the rest of her life because of her dwarfism. It messed up her spine, so she has trouble walking. And you have 24 hours. Her family just had to give her up. Her other orphan family just had to give her up. So you have 24 hours to say yes or no. So they had to think fast, and it was like, yes. We waited 2 months for a little girl from a different country. So Michael and Christina, the Barnetts, went to the building, went to the address to get her, and it was like a strip mall, and it was like, this is a adoption agency? But it was a strip mall, and it was a storefront in the strip mall. And so right off the bat, Natalia saw them and said, Mommy, Daddy. So they was like, oh, you know? And so they did all the paperwork, and they took her home, and they realized when they was walking to the car, she really cannot walk. Like, she needs help walking. So they help her walk to the car. They get home, and they give her a bath. Christine realizes Natalia has pubic hairs. And she's like, okay, you're 8 years old with pubic hairs. Must be, you know, a Ukrainian thing. She spoke pretty good English. For her to just move to United States from Ukraine, she was speaking very well. So they went on a family vacation, and it was to a beach. Well, the boys had ran off and went to the beach, and Natalia was like, I want to go to the beach. Can you carry me to the beach? And Christine was like, oh, we just sat down from walking in all this sand. 1 second, honey. And Natalia got so impatient, she just got up and ran to the beach. And Christine and Micah was like, hold on, I thought she couldn't walk. When they would go to bed, they would wake up in the middle of the night, and Natalia is standing over them, sometimes with a knife in her hand. They were so happy when they found another dwarf that was the exact same age as her to come and play with Natalia. And they set up a play date. Natalia did not want to play with her. Natalia acted like, you know, she was cool. Like, she acted grown. But then they noticed that the other 8-year-old dwarf had a smaller head than Natalia, and her features were Natalia's features were very more mature looking than this 8-year-old. A lot was very, very different. But then, you know, you're like, well, she is from a whole different country. And sometimes different countries have stronger features in their bloodline. So one day, Christine is doing laundry, and she finds blood in Natalia's panties. And it's like, okay, she's 8 years old. How did she start a menstrual already? And so Christine had her put a tampon in, and the tampon had blood on it. And so she's like, what in the world? Then they had another Ukrainian woman come over to talk to her in Ukrainian language, just to fill her out, get to know more about her, because they could not get a hold of this company. They're like, we need to get a hold of the adoption agency that gave us to her. We need way more information than the little bit that they've given us. And they couldn't get a hold of them, as if they had shut down. So then that's when another Ukrainian woman came over to speak that language to her, and she did not understand what the lady was saying. Natalia just sat there, and Natalia was so mad at Christine and Barnett, because Natalia is now catching on to Christine and Barnett. Like, why are y'all bringing this lady over here to catch me in something? And so Natalia was so mad that the lady was there. She gave Christine and Michael the silent treatment for 4 days. Now, what 8-year-old knows how to go? My kids, when they're mad at me, they can't go an hour without asking for something. Like, there's just no way possible an 8-year-old can go 4 days without saying a word to their parents. She turned tacks upside down on the steps so that everybody would hurt themselves when they were walking. One time they were all cleaning, and Natalia's chores was to wipe off the kitchen table, and Christine's coffee was on the table, and they caught her pouring the bleach spraying the bleach in the coffee as she was spraying the table. Like, she sprayed it in there. One time they went to a farm to visit the animals, and there was a electric fence right there. She tried to push Christine into the electric fence. Jake, who loves learning and he's like a baby genius, he always had homework with him. He was always doing some math problem on a piece of paper. They were walking, and she snatched the paper from Jake and tried to throw it onto oncoming traffic so that he would run out and go get it. So they got her. So they were like, enough is enough. So they talked to a psychiatrist, and so they gave her bone scans, and it showed that her bones were older than 8 years old. And they also took her to the dentist, and she had wisdom teeth already at 8 years old. And so they're like, this birth certificate is wrong. This is not an 8-year-old. This might be a teenager or a full-grown adult acting like an 8-year-old. So they got her in therapy, and she told the psychiatrist that she had planned on killing the family. She had a whole strategy behind it, a plan on how to do it. Like, she had her ducks in a row. She know how she's going to kill this family. And so the psychiatrist was like, we need to get her into a hospital. But the only way that we can do that is if we have to prove that she's an adult. So they took all of the dental work and the hospital scans, and they took it to a judge to show the judge she is an adult and she needs help. She needs to be put on meds. She needs to see somebody. We don't want her anymore because she is a threat to our family. She has admitted that she wants to kill all of us. This is very dangerous. So, but we care for her enough that we want to help her. We get her on medicine, get her in a psych hospital, and then we'll pay for her an apartment. And that's what they did. The judge changed her birthday on her birth certificate, so it made her 22 years old. So she was able to get her own place and go to the hospital for psychopaths, and enroll in school to get her GED and take medicine. So they did all of this, and they put her in her own apartment. And so the Barnetts was paying all her bills and visiting her twice a week in this apartment, and taking her to the grocery store, teaching her little things like how she could take care of herself, making sure she was taking her medicine, and making sure she was going to school to get her GED. And so after a year of being in an apartment, she got evicted. It doesn't say for what, but Natalia ends up getting evicted from, I can't remember if it, I don't know. I don't know why she got evicted, but she did something to get evicted. And so Michael and Christine went and got her another apartment, got her furniture, and made sure she was comfortable, went to visit her every 2 weeks. Nothing had changed. One day, Jake, the little boy, the baby genius, gets a scholarship to get his PhD in Canada. And so they have to pack up and move. And they already went through all this trouble to get Natalia through this psych hospital and do her GED, and things seemed like they were going well for her. So they left her there, and they're like, okay, it's been 2 years of us visiting her every 2 weeks. You know, she's 22 and she should be able to do this on her own now. And so they were just, going to make sure she stayed on their insurance so that she can get her procedures done. Like, they were still there, just at a distance. And so they moved to Canada, and she said one day they received a letter in the mail stating that Natalia was not on their insurance anymore. Like, she cut off everything. And so Christine got worried because she's like, I really hope she hasn't found another family to fool. I really hope she's still taking her medicine. But they all the way in Canada. Well, one day the police comes knocking on their door and took both of them to jail. The state of Indiana was charging them for neglect of a minor. And so they're like, no, she's not a minor. We tried to go to the police, but they, nobody's going to take us serious when we say somebody 2 feet tall is trying to kill us. They're going to be like, okay, step over her. You know, you're the one that adopted her. You have to take care of her. So that was their way of taking care of her. Now that we expose you and we know that you're an adult, we're going to put you in your own place. And even though you have a mental and physical illness, we're going to keep you on our insurance so we can make sure we pay for all your surgeries. You know, that was their way of taking care of her, since they just couldn't give her back. So the Barnetts started speaking out. You know, they didn't tell nobody at first, but now they're like, our name is on the line. We're facing jail time. We had to bail ourselves out of jail. We have children. I am a motivational speaker. Like, what? So they started making videos, sending them to publicists and journalists. Like, no, this little girl is not a little girl. She is a grown woman who is acting like a little girl, moving in with families and hurting the children, trying to kill the whole family. Something's mentally wrong with her. So Natalia and a couple ends up on Dr. Phil, and they tell Dr. Phil the real story.
Well, 6 years, but almost seven.
Now, you two met her on the neighbor's porch.
Yes. And my friend called me and was like, you need to come down here right away. So I go over there, and she said, she's telling me she's 22. Like, look at her. She's not 22. And I go, are you 22? She said, yeah. But you could tell that it was just like, yeah, because I was told,
That's
yeah.
what I'm supposed to say.
Mm-hmm. So I go, okay. And she said, I have my own apartment. And I'm like, no, you don't. And she's like, I do. And I'm like, show me. So she took me over to her house, and it was definitely her apartment. She had a bed in there. She had a TV. She had like some boxed food in her freezer. I was like, well, you know, I have a couple kids at home. Come on down. You can play with them, talk with us, whatever. So she came to our house and hung out down there, and she never left. She's been with us ever since.
Is that like you to do something like that?
We do
when
help.
You just find this random person on the street and say, come hang out with us?
Well, not typically. Yeah. We help a lot of people, but my motherly heart was like, there's no way she could take care of herself. I was like, I can't just leave her there.
How old were you at that time?
I was 8 years old, maybe almost 9.
So at 8 years old, you're living alone in an apartment. And you're getting your own groceries.
I actually didn't even go grocery shopping. My landlord took me to it was like a gas station, so just to pick up a couple things.
Well, where'd you get your food?
The Barnetts, they had given me like food that they didn't really eat, like canned foods and stuff like that.
And how long had you been in the apartment when you met?
It wasn't that long. I think maybe about a month and a half.
Okay. Well, I have a granddaughter about that age. And I can't imagine her living in an apartment by herself. What did they say to you when they took you over there and dropped you off?
They just said, we're going to get you an apartment and we're going to Canada.
Did you say, I'm 8?
I didn't know what to say. I didn't really know what was going on at first until after it happened. I was confused.
Were you scared?
I was. I didn't really want to leave the apartment, but I had to go to school.
So you went to school?
Yes.
How far was the school?
Maybe about a block away from the house.
So this is a new school?
Yes.
An adult school.
Christine, she had signed me up right after I moved in,
Okay.
after that day.
And then when you met her, she was in her second apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And you stayed in that first apartment for a year at 8 years old.
Yes.
It sounds like you were in a group home in the Ukraine. And you come here when you're 6. And here's what I know about children that are in group homes. They're almost always developmentally delayed. So if you come here from a group home at 6, best case, you're probably functioning at developmentally at 4 or 5. So you go into an apartment functioning at 6 or 7. A 6 or 7-year-old child living in an apartment alone for a year, that's just not believable to me. How does that happen?
I think that she groomed her before she did this to have her ready for this.
But in terms of activities of daily living,
Mm-hmm.
health, food, stove, working with an oven. A 6-year-old child just simply doesn't know how to do the activities of daily living for independent existence.
Right. Well, I know in the apartment when we met her, she didn't use the stove. She cooked in the microwave.
Did she teach you a routine?
She didn't really teach me like how to like take care of myself, but she did say like if someone asks you how old you are, you tell them that you're 22.
And who paid the bills?
Michael.
So all you had to do was go stay behind that closed door.
So after hearing everything that she said, you know, especially about the 30 families, she's been with 30 families, and there's a abusive past. Like, she's also tried to hurt other children as well. The fact that she speaks so articulate to be 16 at that age, I don't know. And another family came out and was like, we tried to adopt her and she had baby teeth missing. Like, her baby teeth was falling out. She was definitely 8 around that time. So some people is coming out like, no, Natalia was 8 at the time and really is 16 now. And then other people was like, no, that's a grown woman. So it's so confusing. I don't know. But it's just like, I don't think that she's as young as she is. I don't think that she's as young as she claims to be, but I also don't think that she's as old as everybody else say. Because they say in orphans, like, the way they celebrate birthdays, they don't do it individually. They celebrate everybody's birthday at one time. And at the Ukrainian orphanage, they go off of your height. Whoever is the tallest, you 6, and then if you shorter than her, then you 5. That's how they do it. She's 2 foot, she's a dwarf. So she always gonna be the youngest. You know? So it's like, does Natalia even know how old she really is? So it's so sad because at the end of the day, she is a real person, you know? And whether she needs help or not, I don't think that makes her a monster. And, you know, we don't really know. But I know that in September of 2021, the judge dismissed the Barnett's case because she's of age. She is legal. Basically, you know, you're guilty until proven innocent. And there was a birth certificate that said this girl was 22 once they moved to Canada. So the Barnetts didn't neglect a minor. But there's another law that says you cannot neglect anybody that you are responsible for if they have something wrong mentally and physically. So that's something that they're fighting too. But I'm glad that it got dismissed because it's still it's a sticky situation. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's talk about it in the comment section down below. Post notification goes to... Thank you so much for having your post notifications on. Shout out to you for being the first to comment on the last video. If you would like a shout out, all you have to do is be the first to comment on the next video. If you would like to see more true crime videos, then click right here. If you would like to subscribe to this channel so that you never miss another video, then click right here. I love you and I will see you guys in the next mukbang.